All right, let's talk Oklahoma Sooners football. We're seeing spring ball in full swing now, and now we're starting to see what the Sooners are going to look like for the 2024 campaign, especially some new Oklahoma Sooners into the fold. Some guys are off to a really strong start, which leads us directly into our report today. This is courtesy of 24/7 Sports. David Stone and Jaden Jackson arrived on campus with ample buzz and exceedingly high expectations. Two blue chip defensive tackles who were high school teammates at IMG Academy, both already looking the part of SEC linemen. They were highly rated for a reason. 6-year defensive tackle, DeJohn Terry said. They're amazing players. Just the flashes and the things they're doing, it's crazy to see them doing that as freshmen. The Sooners lost three of their top five defensive tackles from last season: Isaiah Coe, Jordan Kelly, and Jonah Lau, to graduation. I apologize. I know I just butchered that. While the team's most utilized interior lineman, Jacob Lacey, was forced to medically retire prior to the start of spring practices. All right, it's obviously a great sign that you got these young guys off to such impressive starts, especially since, like the report alluded to, they're highly rated. Miles, I'm curious what your thoughts are on this, but first, Oklahoma fans in the comment section below, as we are working our way through spring ball, as we're starting to see what the Oklahoma Sooners are going to do, give us your favorite spring ball memory, whatever it may be. Maybe you attended a spring game. Maybe you saw a future all-time great Sooner for the first time watching the spring game on TV or reading a report about him, and you just fell in love with a future superstar Sooner. So in the comment section below, give us your favorite memory involving Oklahoma Sooners spring football, and give us a little story behind it. Curious what you guys have to say. But all right, Mize, what are your thoughts on this report and everything to do with the Sooners football program, especially the defense?
Yeah, and I think this is absolutely fantastic and expected to a certain extent because these two guys, David Stone, a 5-star, and Jaden Jackson, a 4, pretty much almost a 5-star with a 92 composite grade per 24/7 Sports. They come in at a much needed time. Not only did Oklahoma lose the three starters to graduation, but also, like they said, their most productive guy was made to retire medically due to some injuries that he sustained and cannot recover from. So I think this is much, much needed for the Oklahoma staff. And it's not just people saying, they're great, this, that, and the third. It's the coach. It's some of the most notable players on this team as well saying things. Brent Venable says they're big, strong, powerful, they have good quickness. And he goes on to say they do stuff that you just can't teach. And he talks about how if these guys stay committed, obviously this is coach speak here, like if they stay committed through spring, summer, and into fall camp, these are guys who are going to be big time contributors. Of course, they're going to be big time contributors. They're absolute superstars already by spring metrics. These guys are looking really, really good. They fit the part, both very tall, over like almost 300 plus pounds for both of them for freshmen coming in. That's extremely impressive. These guys have the frames of D1 football players, potentially guys who are already almost NFL sized players as well, coming into Oklahoma in their time of need. I think is huge. I think the thing that's most impressive to me is coaches, analysts, people like that, they can say stuff all the time. But when the best player on your defense comes out and starts to talk about how good you are and how impressed they are, I think that says a lot. And of course, the number one guy on this defense is linebacker Danny Stutzman going into his senior year. This is a guy who was the heart and soul of that defense, I would say, last year. He'd made a lot of plays. And he comes in, talks about Stone, and says, this guy has really great hands. He has a lot of great pass rushing moves. He can come in and he's regularly beating the veteran offensive lineman, and he's really eager to see how he transitions later on. When a guy that is that veteran, senior, and a good of a player as Stutzman is, and he is talking about these young freshmen who sometimes, freshmen come in, you want them to have a little bit of humble pie. You don't want them to think they're all that in a bag of chips, so to speak. You want to keep them, working hard. He's coming out and he's blown away by what these guys are doing. That gets me really excited to see what Oklahoma's defensive line will be like this coming season. So I think it's just great. We come into the offseason wondering, what is Oklahoma going to do? They've lost so many talented defensive linemen. Is this defense going to be SEC ready? Are they going to suffer? And the answer is probably not, because they got two absolutely phenomenal pickups who are starting to look like they're going to be superstars coming into this season.
Yeah, Miles, I think that's all really good points you brought up, but I got a kind of a different twist on this. And there's a saying when it comes to the National Football League, and it's if you have a first round pick, a top 10 pick, you can't miss, right? Because you're putting a lot of draft capital behind that rookie prospect that you just drafted onto your team. Another corollary to that is if you spend a lot of dollars, big money on a free agent, he can't miss either, right? Because you're spending obviously a lot of dollars, a lot of capital on that free agent. It's similar in college football when you spend a lot of resources going after big time transfers or big time recruits in this case. And the fact that both of these guys, and specifically Stone, don't look like misses. In fact, they look like massive wins for the Oklahoma Sooners program, getting them into the fold. I think it's a great sign for Venables' recruiting and scouting ability going forward. I think he's always been known as being very, very adept at that skill set. But transferring into the SEC, it's going to become a really, really challenging dynamic. It's a whole nother level. I think the fact that he was able to bring in a guy like Stone, of course, you can throw in Jackson, and the fact that he was able to evaluate them, get them to commit, and the fact they're turning out to be as good as they look so far is a great sign that Venables and company on the recruiting side, they won't have the equivalent of an NFL first round bust. They won't have the equivalent of an NFL team overpaying for a veteran in free agency and moves that can really hurt franchises in the NFL. And the same thing can happen in college football, right? You have a big time 4 or 5 star recruit. You spend a lot of time recruiting this kid. If he comes in and doesn't live up to the expectations, that can really, really hurt your program long term because you spent a lot of resources on that kid. The fact that both of these guys, but I'm going to really focus on Stone, are off to such impressive starts, the fact that even Stutzman is recognizing it, I think that's a phenomenal sign. It just points to, once again, that Venables, he's a great defensive mind. I think he's a great personality. But what really leads to success in the college football world, it's been this way for 150 plus years, it feels like. I think it'll continue to be this way for another 150 plus years, is you have to recruit, you have to hit on the big name stars, you got to bring in quality players that fit your program. And this report out of spring ball is just further proof that Venables is great at doing just that.
Yeah, Nick, and you bring up a great point, and I just don't want people to forget exactly what Venables had to do to get David Stone here. Because we remember we did a few stories leading up to his commitment to Oklahoma. Down the stretch, at first he was all Oklahoma, but then Miami started creeping in. Mario Cristobal, the great recruiter Mario Cristobal, starts creeping in to the day, August 26th, the day that he decides to commit. Everybody's saying he's going to Miami. He's going to. I remember we posted a video that we thought that he would still go to Oklahoma. People like, no, he's going to Miami. It's a done deal. Nobody even think about David Stone coming to Oklahoma. He commits to Oklahoma, and people still say, you know what? He's committing for now. He's gonna change his mind. Till the pin signs on the dotted line, as you say, he is not officially at Oklahoma. Then he signs his letter of intent, and he comes to Oklahoma. It was just such a battle down the stretch. Everyone thought he was gonna leave, but it turns out Brent Venables' recruitment was key, and I just think that that is paramount to the point that you bring up about how many resources and how much they had to do to secure a guy like David Stone, who's highly sought after as after so many people. It just feels good that it's paying off, or it's looking. It hasn't paid off yet, but it looks like it is going to pay off. I think this was a great move by Brent Venables. Data brokers sell your information to scammers, spammers, and anyone else who may want to target you. Your full name, email, home address, health records, even your relatives. It's all out there. That's why we use Aura, the sponsor of today's video. Aura shows us which data brokers are selling our information and automatically submits opt-out requests for us.
Cleaning up our information not only reduces the amount of that stupid spam we all get, but it also protects us from hackers who could use this information to help them access our social media accounts, bank accounts, and other sensitive information. Aura also does much more to protect us and our families from online threats. We also get features like antivirus protection, VPNs, password management, parental controls, identity theft insurance, and more without having to download several different apps. That's really key. One location, get all this great stuff. It's really easy to set up. And the best of all, we get everything at one affordable price.
You may already have one or two of these tools already, but not having Aura is like locking the front door and leaving the back door wide open. Aura is always on doing the hard work of keeping us safe so you can focus on other tasks with peace of mind. We value our privacy and we also value yours. So go to aura.com/SMI college to start your 2-week free trial. Again, linked in the description below. Go to aura.com/SMI college to start your 2-week free trial today.